Hello. Welcome. For everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Jeanette Beatty, but I was born Jeanette Moffat. I was Alan Moffat's only blood child. So yes, I just want to welcome you here today because it's also what would have been my dad's 72nd birthday. So he passed away suddenly from heart failure on Saturday, May 24th of this year. And honestly, I think I needed about 2 months to process it, to think about how to celebrate his life and memorialize him best. So the last picture that you see, the 8x10 on the table, I took that photo of him. The last time I saw him it was like the first weekend of May of this year. I had just come down to visit, and he wanted a new headshot for his central casting profile. And so we were at I think we were at a I don't know, we were at a grocery store, one of the fancy ones, I forget, and Bristol Farms. And I was like, okay, just go up against the wall real quick and I'll just take a photo. And the middle photo, actually, I also took of him for an acting headshot, but I think that was like maybe back in 2008 or between 2005 and 2008. And then the other one with him as a little baby, I'm only assuming his mom or dad took that, but I love that photo so much. When you get a chance later on, you can come up and look at it. He's just like pondering life. And yeah, I just, yeah. So anyway, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I only knew one side of my dad, and you all got to know a different side of him. But you know, he was a son, he was a brother, he was a piano player, he was a baseball pitcher, he was a machinery salesman, and he was also an actor and a good friend. But the actor thing sort of happened by accident. I was on hiatus from a project, and I thought, well, I'll just do some background acting because that's easy. So I signed up with Central Casting, and my dad's like, wait, so you just sit around like in a chair and like you eat food, and then they just like pay you, and then like maybe you get up and walk around for a few minutes? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I could do that. and he could, and he did. He worked on a lot. He saved like all of the slips from his shifts, and I had to go through all of them. There were so many projects. He worked on maybe like 100 times more projects than I did. But I just think it's funny that he copied me because he thought it would be easy, but then he accidentally, I think, freed himself. I don't recall ever hearing stories of him, performing, or like, he was a very playful person, but I don't think that ever really came out other than, telling like inappropriate jokes, to people. But I so admired that he allowed himself, even in his 60s, to try something new that he'd never done before and just be free. And we actually, we worked together, I think it was in 2005. We were doing The Flags of Our Fathers. It was a Clint Eastwood movie, and I had just got off of one movie, and he was at the Rose Bowl, and he was like, come on down, I need more people. He's like, just, you don't have to sign up, just drive up. He's like, they'll take you. And so yeah, we sat in the stadium of the Rose Bowl, and the camera was like way on the other side. You cannot see us in this movie. But if you could zoom in, you would see the two of us just sitting there like laughing on the benches. Come on in. Hello, welcome. Come take a seat. I love you guys. Now I have to start all over. I'm kidding. I was just getting them caught up on all the different careers and lives that my dad had. And he really got to be playful as an actor. And I stopped acting when I got pregnant. No, it's not your fault. But when I would show up to the auditions 6 months pregnant, they just didn't think that was very funny. And I was like, no, we can work out the character. She's a wayward teen. But my dad just kept going. And it wasn't about copying me anymore. It wasn't about just doing something easy. It was about really having fun. And while he didn't work enough hours in his career for SAG benefits, but he worked enough to find joy. And I find that incredibly valuable and admirable. He started taking improv classes maybe in, I want to say like 2017, if I had to guess, with Bill Cott. And he would be here in this theater. I think it was every Sunday he would come. And I remember he would call me on the way to his improv class and you know, tell me that I gotta come join him someday. And I'm like, yeah. But one day I thought, you know what? I haven't actually done any improv for a while, and this sounds really fun. And so I showed up. I came here, and for months, come in and sit down. For months, we would gather here, we would sit in the seats that you're sitting in, and we would just play. And it was such a gift. And I just remember, you know, we were just like buddies. Growing up, my dad and I, we didn't really have like a normal father-daughter relationship. And I pretty much called him Alan because everybody else did, and you know, he just didn't know how to be close to me. And when I went to college and I didn't need a parent anymore, he was able to show up, and I started calling him Dad. And he really became my dad, even though I hadn't really felt that connection. But it was great. He was there. You know, if a boyfriend broke up with me, he came and like took me out to dinner. He helped me, you know, get a car, and he even helped me with rent on my sophomore year of college. And when he had money, he gave it freely, and that's probably why he never had any. That, and also his obsession with Mercedes. If he had been obsessed with like a Kia or like a Toyota, who knows what would have happened. But he loved a Mercedes, and he actually did insist that my first car be an old Mercedes-Benz, and that was a good thing because it was built like a tank, and I crashed it after a week, and nobody was harmed. So he was very proud of that decision, but also very disappointed that I crashed it. But so yeah, here we are, all these years later. And when I heard the news that my dad was gone, it was like, come in and sit down. It was like something, you know, had been ripped from me. Come sit. And it's taken me a couple months to figure out how to put it all back together. But this theater is the only place that I wanted to have it.
Great.
This is the place where I think my dad was the happiest, where he felt the most free, where I felt the most connected to him. And Bill Cott couldn't make it tonight, but he sends his regards. And I'm so grateful to Bill that he was able to provide these workshops, and that he let my dad play along. So yes, the Whitefire is very special to me, and There's also a guest book on the table that later on, if you would like to share a memory that you have, or just anything that you liked about him or you missed about him, so definitely feel free to write that down at any point tonight. Oh, sorry, I need some tea. So when I knew that we were going to have an event here, I thought I really wanted my daughter Olive to sing. My dad was so proud of Olive.
And you, yes, all the time.
But he really loved that he spawned with a singer. He loved that, and I was like, Dad, I think the vocal cords like skipped a generation. I think the Moffat genes like muddied the waters. And then Olive discovered her voice, figuratively and literally, and she's just gone like light years, I think, beyond what I was physically capable of and what my mom was emotionally capable of. Like, I sent my dad a video of Olive singing. She played Oliver in the school musical, and he said, "The gods have gifted you back, Jolene 2.0." So no pressure, but he was just incredibly supportive. He loved me, but he was so proud of Olive, and he might not have, known how to, physically relate to a kid, but, gifts were his love language. When we said, no, she's too young for a laptop, he bought her a laptop. And, and we're like, no, we don't need a keyboard. He's given us a keyboard. And yeah, so my dad lives on in all of us, and his gifts live on. And if I can get this rattle out of my throat. My dad would have really loved to hear Olive and I sing together. And we were just like, what do we sing? What do we sing? And if you guys are familiar with Wicked, there's the closing song. Although it's about friendship, I think it's also about so much more. So, but my dad really was my friend. He was the person that I could call anytime, day or night. He would be there. And that's definitely missing. I really miss him as a friend. So, Olive is going to come up and she's going to sing a song with me. And I only wish my dad was here to see it or hear it, but I think he's here in spirit. So I can put that there. So I put together a little photo slideshow of just the photos that I had and some of the ones that people had sent me. Notably Patty. She is our family archival master. I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. can't say if I've been changed for the better, but because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
It will maybe that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have written mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind of the sea, like a sea drop by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you,
Because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
and just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for.
But then I guess we know there's blame to share,
And none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a heart, like a ship blown from its
as it
mooring
passes us
by a wind of
like a
the
stream that
sea,
meets a
like a sea drop by
boulder
a
halfway
burning
through
wood.
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you,
Because I knew you.
because I knew you, I have been changed for good. So, if anybody else would like to come up and say anything, it's open mic night at the Whitefire Theater. I could just stay up here and talk all day, but I know everybody else has other things that they would like to share, and it's no pressure. Yeah, but I know Chanel has a really good story, and if she doesn't tell it, then I have to tell it, and I wasn't there. No pressure.
I can't put it back to follow that. This is their plan all along, and it's mean. I knew Alan. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. I'm a pretty loud voice. I knew Alan as a prankster. I'm his niece. I'm Patty's, who's his sister's, his only sister actually. There's 4 of them. But throughout my entire life and through my brother's life, we knew Alan as like the jokester of the family. There has never been a moment in which him and I have had any sort of serious conversation ever. Even though I've tried to press it, it always turned into some sort of joke. This started off when I was very young, and it was inappropriate then, and it grew to now. I'm 35, and it was still inappropriate now. I remember I must have been Olive's age and my brother, who had just turned 18 or 19, had moved out to, I think, Reseda or middle of Chatsworth or something to go and be some sort of DJ. But in that moment, I was so stoked because I got the bigger room. And I was, a fresh teenager, and it was like, yes, I get this fucking tight room. I'm so stoked. I moved. And in that same moment, Alan was invited to live with us. And so he did. And him and I lived in harmony down the hall from each other for a while. But then as time progressed, he probably lived with us for 6 or 8 months. And as time progressed, him and I shared a bathroom. And it became increasingly gross living with him. And I would complain all the time about how I had to share a bathroom with a boy again. And I didn't want to do this. And I was just a very typical teenage 13-year-old girl complaining on the daily about Alan and his bathroom habits. And he spent way more time in the bathroom than I ever did. So I was like, what are we doing? Hi, welcome. Hi. You can just come in. No problem. So one day I go off to school. I think it was my first year of high school. And so I go off to school, and I come home, and Alan, I go upstairs, I run upstairs, and Alan is nowhere to be seen. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever, but he's here, and my mom's home. So I go in the bathroom, and Alan had staged something in the toilet for me to find. And as a typical teenage girl, I just lose it, and I start screaming. And Alan, I turn around because the bathroom is right across from the room he was staying in. And so I just turn around, and I can see Alan slowly opening the door.
What did the bathroom look like?
It looked like there was shit everywhere. There was honestly shit everywhere. The toilet was full of it, and the toilet seat was covered in poop, and what it looked like was like little dookies on the toilet seat itself, and it was uninhabitable for sure. Not safe. And so I can see Alan with his grin. We all know this grin. We all have this Moffat grin. And he's like slowly opening the door, and he's like peering out like this. And I'm like, get over here, clean this up. And I just start screaming, and he shuts the door really quickly, and I start banging on it. And my mom comes out from down the hall, and she goes, what is this problem? And I go, he shit all over the toilet. No, you can't use it. He needs to come clean this up now. And he, opens back up, and he goes, I would never do this. And then, he walks into the toilet, and he goes, are you even sure this is shit? And I went, what else would it be? And he goes, and we all know where this is going, because we all know Alan's humor, but he goes and he picks up one of the things off of the toilet and then eats it in front of me. And I start screaming, and I just go, you gotta get him out of here. He just ate shit off the toilet. I can't live with this person anymore. Like, I can't live like this, basically. And so my mom comes walking in, and she looks at it, and she goes, Chanel, this is all just chocolate. Get over yourself. And Alan goes and takes another piece off and eats it again, and I go, it doesn't matter. Someone has still shit here. And so my entire life, this has been my experience with Alan is somewhat terror. And also just at the same time, an extremely lovable, gentle human being who, him and I would get into these back and forths constantly where, he was in the restaurant business for a long time, and I've been in the restaurant business for a long time, and he would be like, is your restaurant surviving, Chanel? And I'd be like, what do you know? Like, it was just this constant back and forth of like, you don't need to tell me what to do, Alan, but then there would be points in which he was like, well, this is what we did, and this is how we survived. And I don't know if I ever told him, but I was always incredibly grateful for his personality, his laughter, and everything he brought to the table in this family. because it's a very difficult family to survive. And he was always like the light of laughter. That's my best story of Alan. I wish I had so much more, but and I do, but I think that's the one that sums up Alan probably the best. Who cleaned it up? Not me. I think I went downstairs and I lost it. I think probably you cleaned it up. Probably, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe she had forced him to, but I don't know if it actually ever happened. But I don't know. As far as I know, I came back and the toilet was back to normal. But every time he saw me, he would make this like and I just like had this fear that I would walk in there and there would be more Tootsie Rolls. Thank you.
Very good.
My name is. Can everyone hear me?
No, you gotta pick up the mic. Yeah.
My name is Darren, and I drove 2 hours to get here.
Thank you.
Alan, I worked with Alan. I first met Alan in 2002, I believe, at Conica Minota. We worked together. He's our major account rep, and he was just the funniest, guy ever. And I had to show my respects tonight because me and Alan had a little bond together. He always came to my birthday parties, and we just used to hang out. Even after we stopped working together, we still stayed friends. And I recently had just spoke to him like about 3 weeks ago before he passed, and I was like, when I seen it on Facebook, I was just like, something just hit me like whoa, I lost my good friend Alan. I can always depend on him to be at my parties and to just go to lunch with sometime. After we stopped working together, he was going from job to job, and we just used to talk about the whole days like, man, everybody out here is just like, whoa. But Alan was always a funny guy. He was just like, he was adorable. And I send my regards to other people that knew Alan that couldn't make it. But I'm sorry for your loss. Your dad was a very special guy. And he used to always call me his only black friend. But I know he had many more, but me and him just had that like bond and connection together. And we had nicknames for each other. I called him Whitey. He called me, "You're my only black friend." Sorry for that. I didn't mean to offend him. But Alan, he was funny, and I could see him doing that. But actually too, I learned a lot from Alan. So, and he loved his granddaughter when she was first born. I know I never met you, but he always talked about you. So well, I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm the sister. And we had a very different sort of relationship than the other members of the family. Because we were the first two, and I used to do his homework for him. I was a smarty pants, and he would in exchange buy me albums. And I used to buy my first Beatles album because of him. Because I did his English papers. And he bought my first bike. Wade, who's here, is the only one who ever got a new bike. Apparently it was pretty damn cheap. And my grandpa used to make bikes, and they were like, I don't know, made out of plumbing pipe. They were so heavy, so you could never really ride a bike. And Ella bought me one. So his first job, he made enough money to buy me a bike. And I rode it, and I rode it, and I rode it, and I rode it, until I got a driver's license. Yeah, I think I must have put on, well, because I live so many miles away from school, but I must have just gotten in such shape from that bike. And he never rode bikes. He had a bike, but he never rode it. And because he got a car ahead of everybody, but yeah, it was a Vega, Chevy Vega. It was pretty horrible. It was just the most notorious cars in the world. And he had a Pinto before that, which all of us had, and all of us crashed into one another. And nobody died, which is weird because Pintos killed people right and left. But I remember after the last crash, my dad still got it back from the tow yard and put it back together, and I thought, no, who's gonna die in this car? But it survived all 4 kids, bizarrely enough. And I used to take him with me to the Hollow Bowl because he loved music, and if you took him to a play where they didn't have music, he'd fall asleep and snore. So you couldn't take him to a play where there'd be dialogue and, you know, meaningful conversation or anything, but if there was a music in it, he was wide awake, and it didn't matter what kind of music, he just loved it. So my Hollywood Bowl tickets this year, I'm like, oh no, Alan. I still miss him.
Well, I don't really want to go in front of everybody, but I wrote something for Alan. Sorry. Okay. Gigi and I kind of wrote this together, but Alan was a very remarkable man, we have to say. He wasn't just a friend, he was a guiding light in our lives. His generosity knew no bounds. Earlier I remember someone mentioned that he would, you know, give you the shirt off his back if he had money. Even if he didn't have money, he's known to take out hard money loans to give people that really didn't deserve the loans. Anybody, he would help anybody, even if it meant putting himself in jeopardy. He would give you the shirt off his back. We agree with that. Always willing to lend a helping hand, even though his back and his body might not be able to handle it. He was trying to help me clean out my garage, and I kept having to say, Alan, stop, I don't want you to hurt yourself. He just, you know, he would always try to help. I remember so many times that he would go out of his way to help others without seeking any recognition. He never did it for the recognition or for the brownie points or kudos. He had a unique way of making everybody feel special, even if he made them feel uncomfortable at the same time with his funny sense of humor. We all know his sense of humor could be a little. I could share some jokes, but I wanted to keep it appropriate. Maybe we can talk about this time. No, maybe not. But you know, just that's his sense of humor. He had an amazing sense of humor, bordered on sometimes inappropriate, but yes, very funny.
Sometimes.
Smile. He had a unique way of making everybody feel special, whether it was through thoughtful gestures. I mean, Gigi and I remembered at least 10 different times on the way here. Just, I mean, no matter what it was, littlest things. My daughter was turning, you know, I caught her drinking. She was 16. Yeah, too much information, but the next day he came over with like a breathalyzer test. Make sure your daughter uses this in her car. Make sure he just, she's not a drinker, by the way. That was a one-time thing she learned a lesson. But he was very protective like that. He would try to help. You know, he would be talking about his health problems back, I think it was April or March. He had to have an MRI and some of his PSI, and then he remembered, he's like, wait, with the surgery you're going through, I shouldn't even be talking about this. You know, he always just had a self-effacing way of worrying about other people above himself. He was a man that was wonderfully curious and could be stubborn at times. My husband is of opposite political leanings from Alan, and they would debate and debate and debate. I would say, I'm not part of this. But, you know, they both are very stubborn in what they believed in, and he always did so, tried to convince people with the greater good in mind. He was always trying to be helpful, not trying to be right. He really did believe that. I really do believe that he just was trying to help. He could bring a smile to anybody's face with his, you know, just with his infectious laugh and his smile. He was known for being a bit gullible. I think we could all agree to that. very charming, but just embrace life with that childlike wonder. I think it was his daughter was saying. I mean, just no matter what the age, he brought that feeling to me. I'm 55, and he would make me feel like, gosh, there's hope. Where there's life, there's hope. Like he was just always had that spark in him, the willingness to try new things, and whether I was depressed, which I struggled with from time to time, he would always be trying to convince me with, we're alive, just I want to do all these things while I still can. Let's go to the movie, let's go to the theater, let's go here. Always talking about how he and his sister, he really looked up to you, Patty. I know that you talked about him saying you were the older sister. I think he just really looked up to you. And his daughter and his granddaughter, just, I mean, everybody could say, all he did is talk about you with pride. Just so very incredibly prideful about you guys, I just have to say. That's about it. I mean, all in all, he was just a good guy. He was the friend, like I know that you were saying, I'm never going to get over missing that that friendship. He was that unconditional love of that person you can always talk to. And I feel bad sometimes where I blow him off. I was busy teaching and I didn't get back to him for a couple weeks. I guess we all probably have little moments of guilt like that where I wish I would have gotten back to him. I didn't get back to him. He was always there and he would always understand. You're busy. He would never take it personally. But I guess that pretty much sums up everything, and I'll always be grateful for the friendship that I had in him.
Thank you.
If I could say something to Alan right now, what's coming into my mind so much is that my father, Alan Lloyd, who's a pianist, and he ended up marrying my father's daughter, my sister, and I'm Jeanette's, and he was always a really good friend to my dad through the years, and I know he really admired my dad as a player, and they shared that musical connection. But I remember every time my dad would come to town, the first person he would call was Alan, and they would go to have dinner, have a couple glasses of wine, and that meant so much to my dad. And so I really, I'm so grateful that he spent that time with my dad. As my dad was getting older and starting to, maybe he shouldn't drive and everything. And I remember Alan, he told him about the rental car place that would like rent a wreck. And my dad was like renting wrecks and everything, but they had a really great friendship. And I have memories that are very blurry because I was so young when you were born, but how he was there to like give it his best shot, and at a certain time I even remember moving in with you guys, and I was like 18 or something. I was trying to help and everything, but he was just always so great and such a forgiving person. Yeah. And so I'm here to support you too, and yeah, and I'm just so happy to hear all these wonderful things about him, and I'm so happy that you can hear it. Yeah. I'm so happy he married my sister. They met at La Hot Club.
On Ventura.
On Ventura. He was the manager.
I'm sure
He was
you
the
have a lot of
sexy
stories, too.
manager.
Yeah.
In the disco days.
Oh.
And my sister, of course, was like the cocktail waitress or something, like a waitress, right?
Well, she got a job there, I think, to stalk him.
Exactly. She was like after him. Yeah. And I heard all about it as her little sister. Every detail about this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
I know. And he was also the manager of the Playboy Club.
Yes,
Oh,
he talked a lot
yeah.
about that.
I wish I had photos
What a
of that.
pride for him.
Yeah, he'd talk about how like the bunnies would just like be in the back of the kitchen just eating off of people's plates. Just like what they didn't eat. But I'm sad that all the stories have gone with him.
I know.
There were so many stories.
I know.
And yeah, he would call me all the time, and a lot of times I was busy. I was like, I'll call him back later.
Yeah.
And because of that, I have a lot of voicemails. And so, in a way, I'm glad I couldn't always pick up the phone, because now I have things to listen to. And we had this ongoing joke where I couldn't answer the phone because I was being held captive by like some drug cartel that was trying to hold me for ransom, and he's like, be sure to tell them that your daddy doesn't have any money. They're not gonna get anything. And so that was like this ongoing joke. But yeah, we laughed so much, and yeah, he didn't always have like the best judgment sometimes, but I'm here because of that.
Absolutely.
No, honestly.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And I can,
who just
I was there.
has unprotected sex with somebody that they barely know,
Exactly.
and then marry them and have a
Yeah.
baby?
Yeah.
He's laughing right now.
My dad.
I remember the time we were outside of his house that night. We had gone to Nana's house, and then I think we went to your dad's house, and we were all outside talking. Do you remember
Oh.
that?
No.
It was
So
just such a
vaguely.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just had the last time I spoke with him, we just had such a great conversation, and just talking about life and looking up at the stars.
Yeah. But I'm also, I think, probably here because of your dad, because a friend of my dad's gave him Al DeLory records, because my dad was playing piano, and so when he met my mom at La Hot Club, she said, I'm Jolene DeLory, and he's like, wait, are you Al DeLory's daughter? And she was like, well, yes, I am. And I think that probably made her like him more, that like, he knew who her dad was. And then I think the stalking happened, but had he not been into piano, had your dad not made these records, I mean,
Very true.
I might not be here. And then you wouldn't be
What a
here.
blessing.
I just hope you know. I mean, if he heard you two singing up there, I know he's here in spirit. It's just such pride. I know he's so proud. From wherever he is watching, I know.
I mean, he really inspired me to take risks, you know, and yeah, the improv, I had done it, you know, in high school, and it was a part of me, but it was just sort of dormant. And he knew that I needed to get back into it. And after I did a few months here, I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just try stand up. And then I did. And it was like, I think he planted these seeds. And when I had my first stand-up performance, like, he was there. And he sent me like the nicest text the next day saying how proud he was. And I remember I was like, I gotta take a screenshot of this, because you know, your iPhone, they only let you go back so many years. Right. So if there's ever a really good conversation, you need to screenshot it. But yeah, he brought so many gifts that were, you didn't realize it at the time, too. And so I'm still discovering things that he gave me. And one thing, though, it's very helpful is he was very insistent on me getting good arch support.
Yeah, with his feet.
Yes,
right?
I mean, because he had plantar fasciitis in his foot, and so he was like, you have to go, you know, to the orthopedist. You have to get the scan. They got it. It's like the $500 insoles, but also the Moffats have notorious bad knees. So, but yeah, I started taking, you know, the health of my feet more seriously because of him. So,
He was serious about his foot care.
right? Very serious. And he went to the doctor all the time. More than anybody else I know. And so that's why it was so, you know, surprising that he would pass away so quickly. But the thing is, he outlived his father by 10 years at least. So he did something right. But
Happy birthday.
I know.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Dad. And I remember AD, he would get you Boone's Farm wine when you were underage. You said to go to the Donna Summer concert.
Oh, I was there too.
The Hollywood Bowl.
He got us that wine.
Oh
my gosh.
And you were like, he's the manager of a
Couldn't
hot
get us a
club.
good Pinot Gris or a Sauvignon
No,
Blanc.
it was like
the pink Boone's
Throw
Farm.
up stuff.
Yeah. Maybe he thought you were too young to appreciate good wine.
We were
He
underage.
got us what we asked
no
for.
kidding.
Yeah,
He got us what we asked for.
that's true.
Exactly. Wow.
Did anyone get any crazy texts from Alan ever?
Oh, yeah. You mean,
Our
Late night
videos
text or-
from TikTok.
Oh,
Yes.
Those,
Yeah.
I still keep getting them.
the speaking into the phone text where it didn't make sense at a
Yeah,
certain point,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Those two.
I didn't get any of those, but Alan really loved to send me traumatic videos. I don't know. I think he thought it was like me trying to get over whatever trauma I just experienced. So like,
bug ones, even though I hate bugs.
yeah, he would do. Yeah, he would do stuff like that. Like if you don't like bugs, he'd send you like massive bug
Right,
ones,
spiders.
or like,
Right, yes.
yeah, or like
With
I
no
was in
warning
this.
either, no
I was in
warning.
this car accident last year, and ever since then, even like days after the accident, I would get texts from him when it would be like news clippings of other accidents that have happened.
You're like, I told you this.
And he's like, hey, you're still here. And it like just continued to happen, even though like in person I'd be like, I have
don't want that
PTSD. And he'd be like, you gotta get over that, you're alive, these people died. But he would just send me like car accident videos, and I have a horse, so when I would fall off my horse and my mom would tell him, because I would never tell him stuff like that because I didn't want crazy horse videos, he would then send me like, you know, like Superman falling off his horse, or and I was always like, this is not helpful, Alan, you're not helpful. And then he would chuckle at me and he would laugh and he would be like, it's so funny because you're alive still and they're not. And I'm like, okay, man, thanks.
Well, I did get back at him though, because he used to have this thing about airplane crashes. I can't tell you how many times we would sit there and watch airplane crashes together, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to be afraid to fly. I'm okay. And, you know, and he was just like, no, look at this one. You know, I mean, that and you know, car chases. He really liked that one on the freeways. You know, he'd go, look, there's another one escaping on the freeway. Turn on channel 5. You know, I'm like, well, they're not going to do anything exciting, Alan. You know, but anyway, he was always like going over airplane crashes, and he was flying up to meet Jeanette. And that's exactly when the Air Alaska door fell off in midair. And I don't know if he was
At
flying.
the airport where I fly out. Yeah.
And-
At the Portland airport.
And I'm like, wait a minute, is he on an Air Alaska plane? I'm like, oh my God. So he lands. I go, Alan, did your plane lose a door? And I told him all about it. And he's like, what? Like, you know, it freaked him out too.
Well, we were out to eat, and the accident, it happened, and I was like not saying anything because he's flying out on Sunday and he needs to go home. Yeah. And so we went out for lunch, and while we're eating, he starts talking to Patty, and then he's like, what happened? And I'm like, no. Yeah, just his eyes like bugging out. Because he was flying on Alaska out of that same airport.
Yeah.
And I was like, now's the safest time.
Yeah, they're not going to lose 2 plane doors. Yeah.
But humor was his way of coping, you know?
That, and he loved the Dodgers. Every pitcher's statistics, and we would talk Dodgers all the time. And he'd get tickets, and he goes, "Well, what do you think of this guy's? You know, what about Kershaw?" I'm like, "I don't know, you know," because my dad was really into baseball, and so we knew baseball statistics a lot. And I don't know. He didn't get to go to a lot of games, but when we did go, he always wanted the best seats, and he was taking notes. He'd keep track, and oh my gosh, he was so devoted to baseball.
We went with Jeff recently.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was like 5 of us or 6 of us, and we parked on the wrong side.
We had to walk for miles.
And we had to walk so far, and Alan with his feet was just crying the entire time, and my brother kept telling him to be like, we're almost there, just, you know. And Alan tried to like hitch a ride with one of those
A little golf
the
cart?
little golf cart people. He basically like kind of pushed my brother in front of it so that they would stop, and then he'd be like, get us a ride, you know, and then, you know, they wouldn't because neither of them were handicapped. But yeah, like, and my, you know, I remember that, and we had to hike the entire way around, but we finally got to our seats, and my brother and him argued about baseball the entire time, basically.
Yeah, he could be stubborn and very.
Well,
He also-
my son was a big San Francisco Giants
Yep.
fan, so you know.
He also wanted those hats that you can drink out of. So my brother bought him. My brother bought him a beer hat that he could. Yeah, the straw beer hat that, and he wore that after, like, on the way out. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. What else?
But I know that he knew all of you from different walks of life, and he didn't necessarily share your details. You know, I'd hear little snippets of a story, but he kept everybody sort of in their own little. I don't know if you all heard about us.
Yeah,
but
I heard a lot about that. He'd go with Hollywood Bowl with you. He talked a lot about it. And he was always talking about my house on the way to your house. So
Yes,
he was very-
I
he
knew
talked to you a
I
lot.
knew you existed because he'd always come by after he saw you, and I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked up to you a lot, for sure.
Do you guys live in the same city?
I'm in Thousand Oaks, and she's
Thousand
in Moore
Oaks?
Park, so we're
Okay.
close. I know he loved his brothers and his sister-in-law, although he could be very stubborn.
Oh, yeah.
And set in his ways and self-righteous, and maybe all the Moffats could be, but I know in his own way, he very much loved his, for the most part, his brothers, this brother, this sister. I mean, you know, we won't go into detail about all of that, but yeah.
Well.
Loved his family.
There would be times at restaurants, you know, it got to a point where our activity would be to go out to dinner together, me, him, my mom. And at restaurants, he would always do everything to try and make me super embarrassed. Like anything he possibly could. Like he once told a waiter that I would go with him. Yep, he said, he was like, you can go home with her, or she'll go home with you. He would just do it just to make me, like, you know, like, I'm just so easy to, like, he loved it. I'm just so easy to be like, no, like, we're out of Chili's. I'm never going home with this person. You know, and he was like, yeah, you know, he's always like, you're some hotshot restaurant person, but we're out of Chili's now. And he'd always order the same thing, and it would make me so upset because he'd get his steak from Chili's, and I'd always be like, why are you buying a steak from Chili's? You know? It'd piss me off.
He was a creature of habit with the food.
He was a creature of habit with food, and he would do everything he possibly could to embarrass me at any moment of my life.
See, and I wouldn't get embarrassed. I was like, oh,
She
yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
She would egg him on. They would both do it. Sometimes they would do it together.
And he was a collector of little dogs. I forgot to
Yeah.
mention. We all know that.
Yep.
Like, I mean, at one point he had 3, and then he collected a 4th one just out of mercy. Her name actually ended up was Mercy, coincidentally. But he would take in a dog. I'm like, Alan, you already have 3. Well, she was going to be put down. Someone was going to give her away. What was I supposed to do? Well, you can't take another one. You know.
Denver
A
potty
collector
training.
of little dogs.
Yeah. I was always telling him, like, put on your own oxygen mask first
Yeah,
before you
right?
help anyone else.
Yes, yes.
But it was so hard. He was just so
So giving
nice
to
and
to a
giving.
fault. Yeah,
Yeah.
to a fault for sure. Giving and generous to a fault.
Yeah, I remember we got into a huge argument over our text chain because he had given like $20 to some stranger at a gas station. I was like, you don't have $20 to give.
I think I had just bought him dinner.
Right, that he took out a hard money loan on his automobile to give to someone that really wasn't a friend. We all know who that person was, but you know, he was very easy to like someone to convince him, I really, really need this. Well, you don't have it, Alan, to give, but
Yeah.
And then he would get stuck with it and end up paying it off and not ever, you know. Well, he'd always forgive the person. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he had like a selfish bone in his body.
Really didn't, yeah.
I know, speaking of restaurants, you really like the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh my god, it's
And
awesome.
we went to like the mall, I think it was here in LA, and he tried to order something that wasn't even on the menu.
He was insistent. He's like, they'll make it.
Yeah.
They'll make it.
Yeah.
And the menu is huge. It's like, find something. But he's like, no, it's got to be this salmon thing, and they'll make it. They make it.
That's the last place I,
think
ate
they-
with him. My husband and I
Yeah.
ate out with him. That's the Cheesecake Factory.
I can't remember if they did make it. I don't think they did, but he was so
He'd get, like,
confident.
he'd get the appetizer platter a lot, wouldn't he? Like with all the different stuff.
I'm not sure, but he loved the cheesecake, and I remember
He would get me cheesecake.
he got you
It
cheesecake.
was really good.
Yeah. Gifts were his love language.
He really loved
I got so many broken gifts from an Amazon, or I think some sort of like, he was always trying to find like a good bargain kind of thing. So when I got in my accident and I was like kind of rehabbing, but he bought me this massager, and I was so stoked because my leg was, you know, I had it in a cast for forever. I wasn't walking for many months, and he comes by and he has this box. And it's from an Amazon like resale or repurposed or whatever, and I'm still stoked because I was like, oh great, it's like a fucking therma massager, right? And I go to charge it and it doesn't work, and I'm just like, damn it, Alan, you gave me a massager that's broken, and I actually had to have Blake, who's sitting up in this fix it for me, and it took him a couple days, but Blake fixed this thermogun that Alan had bought me from and then finally, I'm using it, and he goes, am I amazing? I bought this for you. And I went, thank you, Alan, and thank you, Blake. Like, because
like
it.
Bulldogs liquidators. And
Yeah,
those
Bulldog
guys.
Liquidator.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody got presents from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
He would send me something, and I would look at how much it costs to ship it. And I'm like, Dad, please don't. But he just loved giving